Hey there, Amplifier. Thanks for tuning in. And question for you, do you set goals for yourself or for others? And what do you believe the best practices are? Or what are things you think you should avoid when it comes to setting goals? I'd love to see your thoughts and recommendations in the comments. In this video, I'll be talking about some goal setting for business do's and don'ts.
Welcome to Growth Amplifiers, where we showcase the best tips, resources, and tools to amplify and scale your business.
So each quarter for the past several years, me and my business partner have facilitated quarterly strategic planning sessions for our clients and for groups around the country. And it's really cool. We review what we accomplished and what others have accomplished in the past 90 days. We reflect on what we experienced so we can learn from the experience. We fuel our drive so we get motivated, ready to take inspired action. We diagnose kind of the business in its current state against our vision so we can determine the focus. And then we prioritize the ideas that we could put into action. And then we finally create a plan. When we're coming to the planning phase, we take the time to create SMART goals. So question for you, do you have a process you follow when determining your focus and setting goals? If you do, I'd love to see what method you use that has been effective for you. So each strategic planning session that we facilitate, we have some people that come in with the greatest intentions, but they fail on execution. Sometimes it's the execution itself, but sometimes it's actually in the goal setting. And so these are the don'ts, the 5 don'ts when it comes to goal setting for business. Number 1 is not even having goals at all. You don't have them, they're not written down, and that is just not something that's going to help you achieve them. If you don't set goals, you definitely can't achieve them. We definitely want to set goals. Number 2 is that they're not aligned with our vision. So we want to achieve a certain vision. The goals we set should be in alignment with that vision so that the actions we're taking are moving us closer to where we want to be. It takes a little bit of time to do this. You can easily set goals that aren't in alignment and take you in a different direction if you don't pay attention. Number 3, goals that aren't clear. So you maybe heard that I referred to SMART goals in a different video that are specific, measurable, achievable, results focused in a time frame. If you set goals that are not clear, you could have people pointing in the wrong directions. You could take a lot of action but not get the result you want, or it can go on and on because you haven't really clear on which time frame you're looking to achieve the goal in. So you want to have clear goals. Number 4, sometimes we make goals based on assumptions. We assume that we're going to get a certain result if we take a certain action. And sometimes we make goals based on assumptions. And that can be a challenge because if we think we're going to achieve a certain result from taking a certain action, we can find out once we've taken the action that maybe that wasn't correct and we assumed that. Now that's not always bad because we can learn if we reflect on that and learn from past assumptions saying, oh, I thought I would get more sales if I launched a podcast, but I did and it didn't work. So you can say, oh, I thought I would just generate a bunch of business if I wrote a book, but that was an assumption. You actually have to do a lot more than just writing a book to get the results. So we want to be careful when we're making goals that we're not assuming too much in that goal setting process. And then last, number 5 is setting too many goals. Sometimes we can get really excited because we want to see the transformation. We want to make a bigger difference in the lives of others. And we want to challenge ourselves to be doing best, doing bigger, doing bolder. And we can try to do too many things at the same time and stretch our resources and not do any one of them good. So we want to limit those goals to a number of things. Question for you, what mistake do you see as the most common when setting goals for yourself or in your team or with those you serve? Love to see that. Moving on, from my experience, I've had the opportunity to also work with businesses and entrepreneurs and people who have really achieved a lot of results. And there's some common practices that when it comes to goal setting that they implement that really help them achieve those results. Number 1 is they use the SMART goal format. Specific, measurable, achievable, results focused, and in a time frame. By creating a goal that fits all those components, you can make sure that you're very clear on what you're trying to achieve and that you can measure the progress and achieve it in a certain time frame. Setting clear goals helps you create more aligned action plan and increase the likelihood of achieving those goals. Number 2, really having a clear objective of what the bigger picture is that you're trying to achieve. So if you're setting a goal of writing a book. Well, what is the bigger purpose behind writing the book? Is it to grow the visibility of your brand? Are you trying to generate more business by it? Are you just doing it for fun? You want to make sure that the goal that you're setting is aligned with a bigger objective, so that if you do achieve that goal, you're actually achieving what's more important, not just the goal itself, but the bigger reason behind it. Number 3, I like to suggest people start with a limited amount of goals so they can crawl, walk, run. Typically, I say no more than 3 goals at a time. If you try to do too many goals at the same time, you'll spread your resources and typically not get the best results. So I typically start out with saying, start with 1 goal. Make sure that you can focus on that, you can achieve the goal, and then considering doing 2 goals at a time, and then potentially 3. And that's typically the limit that I suggest. I like calling them the big 3, and then when I'm doing strategic planning, I help define the big 3, and we put our focus and attention to completing those in the time frame that we set. Number 4, if you do have more than 1 goal that you're working on at a time, prioritizing them on which one of those are the top primary goal, the secondary goal, and then the tertiary goal if you do have 3 goals. So that way, if you could only get one of the goals completed, which one is the one that you really want to make sure that you're putting your laser focus and you achieve by the end of the time frame. And last but not least, number 5, you want to make sure that you have time devoted for execution. That is not quite setting the goal, but it's really part of planning for success. If you don't have the time to execute your goal, then the likelihood of executing it and achieving it is pretty slim. So make sure that you have the time devoted for execution. Look at what's available in your schedule and set a goal that you believe is realistic and achievable based on the time you have, and then schedule that time in. That's a mistake I see a lot of people make. They actually have the time, but then they fill it up with other things, and then they don't achieve the result that they're looking for. You can avoid that by scheduling time in your calendar, blocking it off, and then honoring that as a priority of something that you really want to achieve, something that's really important to you. So what best practices do you recommend for helping people being effective at setting goals? All right, now it's time for the Amplifier Action. Determine if there are any do's and don'ts that you need to include as part of your goal-making process or exclude as part of your goal-making process. Love to have you put those ideas in action or stop the things that could be hindering your results. So share in the comments one idea that you learned from this segment or that you were reminded of that you could put into action, or if you have a tip or comment that could help others, love to see that as well. In our next video, I'll be sharing the exercises to create effective action plans so that we can actually achieve the goals that we set. Thanks for tuning in. Look to see you on the next video.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.